Title: A Path Unseen. Gondway, the island of the untamed and unrelenting, was a land where every corner promised a new adventure or a new danger. The creatures that roamed its wild expanse were as varied as the terrain itself, from the bustling Grand Plains to the quiet serenity of Triad Falls. Among them, two raptors, Deinonychus and Laetonvenatrix, found themselves drawn to one another in ways they couldn't explain. They were both small, non-avian feathered predators, but their differences were apparent in every step they took. Grand Plains. Deinone, known to his friends as Deinone or Deinone the Dashing, was always on the move. His body was sleek and athletic, with a brown torso, white underbelly, and dark markings along his head and tail. He was quick and restless, running, leaping, and darting across the plains with boundless energy. The vast, grassy plains were a place where dinosaurs gathered, some for battle, others simply to relax or scavenge. Deinone was in his element here, zipping between larger dinosaurs, teasing and challenging them, all with a grin plastered across his face. Despite his small size compared to some of the other predators, his agility made him a formidable force. Yet, no matter how much fun he had, there was something or someone who always caught his attention. Lat, or Laetonvenatrix as he was known, was taller, a striking figure with ginger-colored feathers and dark brown streaks along his back. His underbelly was lighter, and his piercing eyes radiated both strength and calm. Lat was not as quick as Deinone, but his presence was enough to command respect. He preferred quiet observation to reckless antics, and although his frame was larger, he had a graceful, almost ethereal movement that drew Deinone in every time. Every time their eyes met across the plains, a strange pull tugged at Deinone's chest. He wasn't sure what it was, but he found himself drawn to Lat, as though there was a connection waiting to be explored. He often found himself racing to get close, weaving through the larger herds and circling back to where Lat stood, either watching or simply resting. Impact Crater. One afternoon, after another round of teasing and running circles around the other dinosaurs, Deinone found himself at the edge of Impact Crater northwest of the plains. This place was infamous for its brutal fights, a massive scar in the earth where dinosaurs battled for dominance and survival. The air was thick with tension, and the sound of roars echoed across the crater walls. It was here that the mighty Accolobiter, Accolo, spent most of his time. Accolo was a massive raptor, larger than even Lat, with an intimidating presence and a reputation for hunting the largest of prey, Pteranodons, Tyrannosaurs, Spinosaurs. He had fought in countless battles, but despite his fearsome reputation, he was known for being kind-hearted and wise. He had once taken Deinone in as his own, raising him like a little brother, and they shared a deep bond. Deinone stood on the edge of the crater, feeling the familiar presence of Accolo behind him. The older raptor was watching a nearby skirmish unfold, his keen eyes ever the strategist. "You seem restless today," Accolo's deep voice rumbled. I don't know, Accolo," Deinone muttered, his eyes lingering on the distant figures of Lat and other dinosaurs. "There's something about Lat that... it's different from anything I've felt before. I'm not sure what to do." Accolo chuckled, the sound warm and knowing. "Lat, huh? The one with the ginger feathers? You know, he's not so different from you, little brother. I think you should follow your heart." Deinone blinked, startled. "Follow my heart? What do you mean?" Accolo gave a soft nudge with his snout, a gesture of affection. "Sometimes, being quick and strong doesn't always lead the way. You have to trust your instincts, Deinone. You know what's in your heart. If Lat's the one that makes it race, then maybe that's where you should go." Deinone's heart pounded in his chest, his mind racing with the possibilities. He had never considered this. But Accolo's wisdom was never wrong, and perhaps it was time to listen. "Thanks, Accolo," he said softly. "I think I know what I need to do." Wilderness Peak. A few days later, Dianon and Lat found themselves at the base of Wilderness Peak, a tall, jagged mountain southwest of Impact Crater. It was a place few dinosaurs ventured to, too inconvenient for the larger creatures, who struggled to navigate its steep, rocky paths. But for the smaller raptors like Dianon and Lat, it was an adventure. The climb was challenging, but they worked together, each step forging a connection between them. Lat's steady strength provided a balance to Dianon's restless energy, and as they scaled the peak together, they felt something shift in the air. The wind swept through the narrow cliffs, carrying with it the promise of something new, something undiscovered. At the summit, the world opened up before them. The vast expanse of Gondway stretched out beneath them, and the two raptors stood in silence for a while, breathing in the peace of the moment. The sun began to dip lower in the sky, casting a golden hue over the landscape. Dianon turned to Lat, his heart racing once more, but this time with certainty. Lat, I think I understand now. It's not just about how fast I can run or how many fights I can win. It's about finding someone who sees me for who I am. Lat's eyes softened as he gazed down at Dianon. He stepped closer, his large frame casting a shadow over the smaller raptor. And what do you see, Dianon? I see someone who has strength, but also heart, Dianon said, his voice steady. Someone who I want to be close to. More than anyone else. Lat paused for a moment, then, in a gesture that felt both natural and deliberate, leaned down, brushing his nose against Dianon's cheek. I feel the same way. Triad Falls. As the days passed, the bond between Dianon and Lat deepened, and they traveled southwest toward Triad Falls, a place of peace and quiet. Surrounded by lush greenery and the soft sound of cascading water. The falls were a serene place, far from the dangers of Impact Crater and the chaos of the plains. Here, the two raptors found solace, the sound of the falls mingling with the distant calls of birds. The view from the falls was breathtaking, an endless horizon of ocean stretching out toward the setting sun, the sky painted in rich shades of orange and pink. It was here, at the edge of the world, that Dianon and Lat shared their first quiet moment, sitting side by side as the sun dipped below the horizon. Dianon rested his head against Lat's shoulder, feeling the warmth of the larger raptor's presence. I'm glad we found this place, Dianon murmured, his voice full of contentment. Lat wrapped his tail around Dianon's, pulling him closer. This place. And you. It's all I need. For the first time, Dianon felt at peace, his heart no longer racing with uncertainty. He had followed his heart and it had led him to the one he knew he was meant to be with.